Hey everyone, Alan Bauer here in Bay City, Michigan. And tonight I'm reading a article on medical news today, and it's about Epidiolex. And I got it on my iPad here, so you see the kind of light shining off, whatever. But uh, so it's very interesting. If you're not familiar with Epidiolex, Epidiolex is the only FDA approved CBD drug that's out there. So GW Pharma, they spent all these millions of dollars, and they did it for a couple of seizures that basically affected uh, infants. Like it started off with people having these seizures from the time they were infants, and it carries with them through the rest of their life. So they started looking at the CBD, and they went through all these studies, and these studies are just fascinating. But what I want to hit on here is the dosage. Because I know a lot of times I see things like people want to play doctor, and that's something we cannot do. What I do, I always recommend what it says on the bottle. Like suggested serving size. So, like our bottle of Super 1000, the one that's enriched with the CBDA, that has 50 servings in there. So if you took that full serving and do it twice a day, you're actually getting 20 milligrams of CBD and CBDA per serving total. So like 30% of that is CBDA and the rest is CBD. So you're getting 20. Now on the Epidiolex, and I know this is like for serious, like Dravet syndrome. So again, it starts in infancy. These little babies have seizures and it carries on. And they've had some success with this Epidiolex. And like I said, they base this on the child's weight, but what it really comes out to, this is massive amounts of dosage. So I'm taking like our Super 1000, which is our flagship product, and it has 20 milligrams combined CBD and CBDA per serving in the morning, and then another 20 milligrams at night. Epidiolex, at their max amount that they're recommending, is actually 1,000 milligrams in the morning, 1,000 milligrams in the evening. So look at that difference in amounts. You have 1,000 up here, and we have 20 in there. Again, this is a very serious disease, and they have all these scientific studies. They're actually backed up by humans. FDA made them go through a lot of rigorous information and testing and everything on here. Now, if you're taking that I mean, you have that serious of a problem, and it reduced. I wanted to show you what it actually reduced the seizures in these children or adults if they made it into adulthood. So they did this, and yeah. So the other one is Lennox-Gastaut syndrome that causes seizures that usually begin in early childhood or infancy, and then Dravet syndrome that causes seizures that usually begin in infancy. And they're very difficult to treat, they say, and people with those forms of epilepsy often need more than one medication to reduce the number of seizures they have. So they don't just use the CBD alone. And Epidiolex is approved for use in adults and children ages 2 and older with those conditions. So, I mean, this is good that they're using that, and a doctor can actually recommend it, and it's helping these kids out. And then they do what's interesting in here too in the studies. They talk about Epidiolex for pain, and they do the same thing. They say, well, it's been done in animals. It has shown that it can help relieve pain, that CBD can relieve it. However, they haven't done it in humans. And they talk about anxiety and pretty much say the same thing, and autism and schizophrenia and migraines and infantile spasms, um, tuberous sclerosis. I mean, there's all kinds of things here, multiple sclerosis. And again, they're saying that, they're not approved for this. The FDA hasn't approved it other than those two diseases that they talked about, but they are doing research in on this, and they're doing tons of research, which I think is awesome. They're going to find out a lot more what it all helps for. The thing about the Epidiolex, though, it does not contain the CBDA, and with the CBDA, we've done some preliminary research on that. CTFO has, And they found out that it works like up to 1,000 times better in some instances than CBD, especially if you're talking about, when you start talking about pain and inflammation, and you start talking about nausea and vomiting. Like a lot of times with cancer patients, they take all their medications and do the chemo, radiation, all that stuff, and they're very nauseous and vomiting. Well, the CBDA really helps with that much more, like up to 1,000 times better than CBD alone. So my to-go-to thing is the CBDA, and I think the biggest problem that I see, a lot of people are out there trying to play doctor, and I don't try to play doctor. I see people want to ask questions all the time. Well, my dad has diabetes, or this person has this, or I have this issue, this condition, that, and then you got all these people with these, uh, medical experts on the internet, no degree or anything, you see jokes out there where, the sometimes you'll see like Babylon B, they'll say, we're going to award everybody a honorary medical degree, for essential oils or whatever. I thought it was pretty funny, but you could almost say the same thing on CBD because people think they're really trying to play doctor out there, and that's not our role. Our role is just to say, hey, here's this product. Here's the recommendations on here. They recommend one serving size. Now you can say, you can start off with less. That's good, but I think a lot of times I see a lot of people they really hype this up, because maybe they see some things like Epidiolex and they don't understand. Like that would be like drinking a whole 1,000 milligram bottle for one dose. You do that in the morning, you drink another 1,000 milligram. Not to mention the cost on this. Can you imagine like paying the cost on that alone? So people say, well, just do this 300 milligram and start off with one or two drops. It's like, ooh, because it's so strong. And people are thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to like get high off this? Am I going to pass out? They're expecting this to be really strong. And then they take it and they're like, I don't feel anything, and then they give up on it. So I like to recommend what it has on the bottle. In fact, my recommendation is a little bit lower because our dropper has, it says like zero point 0.5 milliliter and 1 milliliter. So I always say take the zero point 0.5. That'll actually give you 30 doses instead of 25. So it's a little bit below the recommended amount. And that's what I do. I take it in the morning and I take it in the evening. And again, so I'm taking a little bit less than 20 milligrams of this Super 1000. And with the CBDA, it could be 1,000 times better than CBD. And then also with the 10x Pure, it could absorb to where you get more than 10 times the normal absorption. So you're getting a lot more of the CBD and CBDA to the target area. So that is giving you very high amounts of CBDA and CBD to get to those target areas. And again, we are non-FDA approved. Everybody else out there except Epidiolex is non-FDA approved. And I guess it's kind of like going back to the Marine Corps, like we always have the joke about the 800 milligram Motrin. No matter what you went in there for, it's like, hey, doc, I busted my wrist or twisted my ankle. Here's an 800 milligram Motrin. Here, take two of them. So, people that have been in the Marine Corps or the military before, and what's the difference between two 800 milligram Motrins that a doctor prescribed and taking eight 200 milligram Motrins that you can buy at the store? You buy at the store, you get a bottle for a couple bucks, and you put eight of them in, and people are like, oh my gosh, you're going to like, why are you taking so much? And I used to do that a lot before the CBD, and it's really not healthy for your body to take that big of a dosage. But we're used to doing that in the military. That was the thing. You got a really bad migraine headache, take two 800 milligram Motrin. But it's the same as taking eight 200s, So it's kind of the same with the CBD. And I'm not saying that any of this is approved, whatever, because the FDA shows, their problem with all these other companies, they don't have the lab tests. You don't know what's in half of these. And it can be higher amounts than that they state on the bottle. It could be lower amounts. All of our stuff is third-party lab tested. So you can see exactly what's in there. And, we're not recommending somebody take drink a bottle of our Super 1000 once in the morning and once in the evening. I mean, that's some extremely high levels. But, if you go by that recommended serving size, 20 milligrams on there, that's pretty good. I mean, it works great for me. And you could start out a little bit smaller, but I think we really need to suggest that everybody do what's recommended on the bottle. You should be blowing through a bottle in a month. And I see the people that have failures on this, it's one of two things. Either they don't take it consistently, they have their issues going on and they start taking the CBD and it's like, oh, I feel good, let me stop. Well, and then a few weeks later it starts again. And then they want to do it like it's a Motrin or something. Like a Motrin is supposed to knock it out in 20 minutes or so. And then they say, well, this stuff doesn't work, because I'm taking the 2 drops that everybody else is talking about and it just isn't doing anything. It's got to be consistent. Just like how that doctor will recommend that Epidiolex, they tell you to take it twice a day, every day, and it's long term. You do this for the rest of your life. And it's still like at the maximum, it's reducing those seizures in those kids by 26%, which is awesome, but it doesn't totally get rid of it. And see, a lot of people think like you take a couple drops of this and it's just supposed to make everything go away. All the problems you've accumulated over the past decades, uh, you know, 2 drops and it's supposed to wipe it all out. That's just not the case. It's something that you take on a daily basis, twice a day. You do it consistently, and you just keep going with it. You should be going through a bottle a day, and I really do recommend the CBDA. And I know I've done some other videos on this, and people want to try recommending all these other things. You should at least be on one of the 10x Pure products. Everybody in the world, there's thousands of companies out there now that have CBD products, and some of them are good, just like ours. Um, but nobody has a CBDA like we do. And the other two 10x products, the 500, 1500, they have small amounts, a few milligrams of CBDA in there. But the real big one is the Super 1000, which would have like 300 or 378 milligrams of that 1000 is actually CBDA. So that's all I wanted to talk about today is just, on that Epidiolex. I think people don't have the right perception how much they're actually recommending. And when you look at that, Epidiolex, the doctors are saying, hey, let's recommend 1,000 milligrams 2 times a day for these very serious issues. Our recommended serving size is 20 milligrams twice a day on the Super 1000, which even if it did get to 10 times better, it would be kind of like taking 200 milligrams twice a day. So that's a pretty healthy dose. And that's really what I wanted to talk about there because you are going to get like up to 10 times the amount absorbed into you. So that better absorption, you're not just peeing it all out. It's actually getting to that target area. So I just wanted to let everybody know that whether you're a customer and you want to take it, again, you got to be consistent, do it twice a day, get up to that full amount on there. Maybe you start at, a quarter of the amount. Say you started at 5 drops, you work your way up to 10 drops and then go to 20, that's fine. Or not drops, but, the milliliters. So that half milliliter, that zero 0.5, maybe you want to do half of that at first starting off or something. But you really got to get up to that recommended serving size if you really want this to work, and you have to do it on a daily basis. And you have to do it long term. You can't expect just a few days it's going to happen. People go to the doctor all the time. They'll be on these prescriptions for years and they still have issues. Sure, it helps them with their issues, but it doesn't take it away totally. But they keep following it, and the doctor will change drugs or do this or that. And some CBD is not a cure-all for anything. In fact, we never say it cures anything at all. But a lot of people want to go out there and act like it is a cure-all. So you got to be thinking long term. You got to be thinking consistency, and you got to take that full recommended serving size on the bottle if you really want it to work. And I just wanted to show you the Epidiolex in comparison. They're saying 1,000 milligrams a dose. We're saying 20 milligrams a serving. Huge difference. But again, our 20 could be more like 200. So that's still like a fifth of what they're recommending for these serious ones. But that's that's actually a pretty good pretty good serving size and getting it to the target area. You just got to stay on it long term, and you got to stay on it the rest of your life. And a lot of times when I do see people go off, that's when they realize that, hey, this is working. It just kind of happened so slowly. They didn't realize how much it was working until they go off. And then all of a sudden, all their issues start coming back like a storm, just boom, it starts hitting them again. And then they go back on it. So, and a lot of times you do need to go to the doctor for things. If you got, I mean, if you break your arm, CBD, all the CBD in the world is not going to help you. It can help take down the inflammation, but you still got to go to the doctor, get your arm reset and everything. And, you know, you can need surgery. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go on. So CBD is not a replacement for doctors. It's just, it's out there to help you with issues and, take it, enjoy it, do it long term, and enjoy the benefits. So that's all I got for tonight. Thanks.